in control, like I respond and consider it or anything else like that. That's not being in control. And control is I thought about it and I made a choice. Now, whether the choice was wrong or right, we're not talking about right or wrong in the moment. We're talking about were you able to choose whatever you chose? Being able to stop and make the choice, evaluate the situation and make a choice, you are in control. Does not mean that you did wrong or right. You chose to do wrong. You still made the choice. It wasn't something that was made for you. So if Beyondra cussed me out and I turn around and I'm super Christian and I cuss out because she cussed me out, that's me operating not in control. But if I choose to make the decision to go that route, I chose something. I was in control of me choosing it. I just chose wrong. So there's people that think that self-control means meek and mild, quiet, non-aggressive, passive, and that means control. That's an aspect of what control could look like. But control can look like many things because I can choose many, many different things. What does anybody think about that?
That's 100% correct. Because we definitely we've been given the beautiful gift of the power of choice. So we choose to do what we choose to do. So I 100% agree with that.
And this might be triggering for folks. So please, and I probably should start saying this in general when it comes to just me and my rooms and all that. Try to separate your feelings and emotions from what I'm saying. Because really, how you feel about what I'm saying does not matter. What matters is if you can hear me, understand, comprehend what I'm saying, and you should see if it applies to you in your life. But your feelings don't matter here in what I'm saying. And I know, again, I know some people will be triggered. What do you mean that my feelings don't matter? In the grand scheme of things, your feelings don't matter. And the reason why I can say that you, what's up, Davey? I appreciate you being here.
What's up,
Definitely.
y'all?
The reason why I say your feelings don't matter, I'm not even talking about your feelings, my feelings. If because I said this earlier when nobody else was here, feelings is a result of what you think. So your feelings are not always valid because what you think is not always valid. You may believe the truth of something and it's a lie. And because you believe that in this lie, now you have feelings based on a lie. And that would means that your feelings are not real. They're not true. They're based on something that's not true. So this is why I say how you think about a person is how you'll treat them. And this is why I say that be in control of your feelings and emotions. Um, it's very, very necessary and needed here. And so even from a biblical perspective of having self-control is in fact necessary in moving through life and dealing with people. And I hope that people understand that one of the key things, that people talk about, like just self-control, is just knowledge, understanding. God says, if you ask anything in my name, according to my will, it will be done. It will be given to you. And people miss that part where they want to say that the part, according to my will. So not ask anything because you want it. Ask me anything according to my will, and you can have it. And so if I want knowledge, he's going to give me knowledge as long as I'm operating in his will. If I just want knowledge for the sake of having knowledge, or if I want knowledge to operate in witchcraft, which is domination and control, he's not going to give it to me. Even this is the foundation of my life. I need to follow that. I need to fight against what I want or how I look at the world through what his will is, how he says, how he sees things. If this is truly what I am and this is truly what I believe. And that's not to say that you do this in perfection. That means that this is the baseline for your life. And self-control, meaning that I can choose to follow this or not. And I'm not blaming nobody. And I'm not making excuses for it. I am in control of me. I'm in control of what I think, what I entertain, how I feel, all these things. Feeling is not wrong. How you operate in feeling, it can be. So, first thing that you do, Byron Katie, loving what is, if you feel a way about something, ask yourself why. Ask yourself, is this true? Where did this come from? Is this coming from me or is this coming from outside of me? What is the purpose of this thing? This fear, this lust, this whatever it is. And then hold that thought in subjection. What is going on here? I'm not accepting this. This ain't what it's supposed to be. And then when people can do that, things will be much different for them in life. What does anybody think about what I've said thus far? Questions, concerns? The floor is open. This ain't a TED Talk, but I definitely want to hear from other people.
Hey, Sean.
Oh, okay. I don't see you on here. Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, Top, I agree with asking yourself why. And that has helped me tremendously. Why am I feeling like this? Is that a narrative that came from my childhood or society or culture? And it helps me to self-regulate. So it even helped me in my decision making now, opposed to just reacting. Again, self-control. So totally agree.
But I think it's intertwining with controlled emotions. How you regulate and control your emotions when it comes to things. Self emotion is your action in what you're trying to, like you said, if somebody says something and you hit them, what's going to happen? The ramification. Um, Emotional control is a little bit more different. I have a right to regulate my emotions deemed necessary to what if I'm doing. And how I regulate that without the impulse of self control. So I can be stern when I need to, I can be caring when I need to, and I can prove a point. Self control, controlled emotions is needed for any and everybody. In my view, my view and my belief when it comes to that is that's how you invoke change. That's why when people galvanize people, they have emotional control because you have to have the right temperament for that to get people to understand, to feel your grief, your pain, or what you're going through. So if you can't, to me, you know, control the emotions is very important for people to understand. Different from self-control because there are two different things, and I think top you gave it up. I felt like you was mixing them both two together.
Yeah, it's all one thing. It's all self-control. So that's not only my actions, but my thoughts, my feelings. It's self-mastery and control. The only thing that you can control in this life is you. The only thing that you and I, this part here is very necessary people live in an illusion to think that, you know, things outside of yourself gives you value. The only thing that you have in this life that's valuable is you, because that's the only thing that you can control. You can't control your children. You can raise your kids, but there comes a time where your kids are going to do what they want to do. You can't make them do anything. Again, love in any facet is not love unless, if you're controlling someone. There's no love in control. It's not. So you can't control other people, not legally as it pertains to ethically. You can't control that. There's ways that you can control people, but that would take you outside of the alignment of God. And, if you want to do that, that's your business. But what I'm saying here is that the person that you should be worried about controlling most is yourself. And your thoughts and your feelings and emotions have to be you have to be in control of that. And again, does not mean that you do this perfectly. It just means that you have a center of control. If I piss off Sean, and if I piss off Sean and Sean lashes out, and he didn't choose that, like, so he lashes out, and then a couple of days later he comes back and he asks, he says an apology to me. He wasn't in control, because it's not something that he want to do. Something that was a result of something I did, and he just lashed out. Now, if I and he decided to act, it won't matter if it's a month or two from now. I don't believe that he would apologize for something that he decided, consciously decided. He may apologize for the interaction in full, but he's not going to apologize for actions that he chose to do. He, in his self-control, he decided to do that. Now, he may say to myself, I might have been able to deal with this differently. I don't apologize for punching you in the face top, but I know that I could have handled that differently. So that's what I'm saying is, like, there's a narrative that people think that just because you're self-control, that means that you're docile. That means that you're non-aggressive. That means that you're non-assertive, and that means self-control. No, self-control means I get to choose. In a healthy mind, I have chosen. When you want to talk morality, then there's a thing of, well, morally, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. But there's steps to these things, and people miss the steps. They just think that if you're in control, then that means you're going to do that's emotional intelligence. I may have something to say. I have a truth to tell Sean, and that doesn't mean that I'm going to not tell him the truth because I'm going to hurt his feelings. No, I just know that when I tell Sean this truth, I'm going to hurt his feelings, and I may need to have some sort of provisions for Sean after I hurt his feelings. There need to be some sort of direction after I hurt his feelings. Him saying something and not giving a hell about how it lands or what happens to Sean, it don't matter, because I'm gonna just do what I want. Making a conscious choice and understanding what the responsibility I may or may not have in doing whatever it is that I'm doing. That's emotional intelligence. What other people are trying to get people to do is I'm trying to manipulate people into having emotional intelligence, so therefore you don't hurt my feelings at all, or that you deal with me in some sort of care because you know that you're going to hurt my feelings. Why would you do that? And that not, that voids the other person of having the choice that they can make to do X, Y, and Z. There's always a choice, and self-control is being aware enough to know that there's a choice that I need to make here, and I'm going to make the choice one way or another. What does anybody else have to say? Like, if there might have been some people in here, they're not in here now, but just people would say, well, people's feelings matter, and I'm going to tell you, um, no, not always, because if your feelings have been created on bad information, then no, it doesn't. No, they don't matter. No, if I have a wife and my wife is upset with me based on something that she concocted in her own head that I had no part in, a narrative that she believed, oh, he doesn't love me because he didn't buy me this bracelet that I wanted, and now she begins to treat me certain kind of ways because of the narrative that she's adopted that I don't love her. Yeah, I'm not validating those feelings because it's based on crap. Be control feelings and emotions. Even in scripture, when they talk about, when you listen to Jesus and you listen to Paul, you never really hear either of them talk about feelings and emotions. Talk about is principles, and they are surrounded by principles, best practice of things. They don't talk too much about things as wicked. And so when people, one of the main places that we manipulate people, control your feelings and emotions. And so that's why when you're operating, especially men, when you're dealing with women, when you're having a logically based conversation, recognize unchecked feelings and emotions are causes a lot of problems. I'm sure on and many
Talking to people, you could tell there's a lot of resentment, bitterness, right? and that unforgiveness is and that's a topic within itself, right? But so many people live in that past hurt, actually say something, because when them words come out, they they're out. You still hear that to this day. You never know. Maybe it's something your mama told you. Maybe it's something your daddy said, and it still stick with us today, and even affect us in current relationships. So when we talk about words having power and self control, it's just good to be mindful.
I appreciate that. Anybody else?
I'll just say this: dealing with the women, especially the women that I've dealt with, dealing with domestic violence, those types of things. Sean, you hit it right on the nose. I mean, one of the major things that's the problem is forgiveness. And I've dealt with people that's like, they refuse. Oh, I can't. I could never. I can't. There's no way. And that is a key component to how we live our lives and how fruitful we may or may not be. Because if we cannot forgive, but yet we expect God to forgive us for our sins, that's going to always be a thorn in your side. It's going to be a problem. The other thing, it tells us we can be angry, but sin not. And don't let the sun go down if you look at it. And it gets deeper, but we have to get to the point where we're able to um, do self checks, heart checks, just like you said. We have to be willing to check self because we're so quick to choose and say, oh, well, somebody did this to me and somebody did that to me, but never figure out or are willing to hold ourselves accountable to whatever part we played in that situation and trust and believe that is major. Even if you, as a person, I would say, were wronged, you played a part. So we have to be mindful to just be able to say, okay, I can admit for women my part in this, and then I can do the work on healing self because I deal with a lot of women that refuse to forgive anything that happened, that was bad. Like I'll even just open the door to say me. Um, Being molested as a child, it was a hard thing for me to have to really forgive because it was a family member, but I still, if I truly love God and I'm willing to say I'm his child, I have to be willing to do that. Doesn't mean that I got to go sit up there and play nicey with you or none of that. But I have to forgive you for me because I need to be able to move on. And if we can't do that, we're going to always be in a position of defeat, if that makes sense. But it really does get deeper, especially with our emotions, because our emotions are soulish. Our emotions have nothing to do with our spirit. So we have to be mindful of that because if we're operating in any kind of gift that God gives us, then we have to be operating from your spirit, not your emotions. I'll let my mic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shell, and I agree with you. You can have certain levels of gifting, and you can believe that you're supposed to be doing certain things. Like so, um, I heard from a great woman friend of mine, that is a therapist on every level, and she told me, she said she was one of the reasons as to why that I very well may be going into, you know, that field. She said when she told me that I should go to the field, I'm like, I don't know about that. She said, like, therapists are born and then trained. And she was like, but some people, They just want to do it. And most of the people that want to do it, they've been hurt themselves. And so they want to fill a void within themselves by helping other people. And so you're not doing it from the correct place. You have to fill that void. Like, you have to get healed first before you try to heal other people, before you try to lead other people. You got to be able to heal and lead yourself first. And so when you don't do that, you will destroy other people, and you will destroy yourself, putting a weight on yourself that you can't carry because you're still broken in areas that are not strong. You need those areas to be strong in order to carry the weight of helping others, because you'll be triggered just by what they go through in your interactions with them. She told me that, and she's one of the reasons as to why, like, I really want to get into this on a high level, because when other people can see things in you that you can't see in yourself, it's a powerful thing. Unforgiveness is being wrapped in your feelings and emotions. It's you trying to have control over somebody else, over something else. And I said in the beginning, seeking control, operating in control of somebody else is what? It's witchcraft. It's manipulation, domination, and control. That is witchcraft. Those are the three components that is required in witchcraft. That's what that is. And so, and it tells a lot about you. So if I love Beyondra as a friend, I don't get to tell Beyondra how to show up in this world. I could tell Beyondra, hey, you said that you wanted to do this, and what you're doing is taking you away from that. I could tell her that. Or I could tell Sean, me and you have a brotherhood, and our brotherhood is based on these principles and things, and you're now operating outside of that. I can have a conversation with him, but in no time ever can I operate with any one of them in control or manipulation. The minute I do that, I don't love them. I'm trying to control them, and I'm trying to control them because I can't control myself. I can't control the disappointment of me wanting one thing from this person and them choosing something else. I don't honor your choice. I'm operating in selfishness because I want what I want. Doesn't matter what you want, even if it means me dealing with you. That is an unstable person. That's not love. That's not friendship. That's not nothing. And if you pay attention, this is why I talk to people in regards to vetting. If you pay attention to this early, you can prevent yourself from being in deeper spaces and situations with people. People show these things about themselves very, very early. And so just learning how to expose these things is a great benefit to you, and really having self-control. Just really you have operating in self-control puts other people in the position to either show that they can too, or expose that they can't. So what does anybody think thus far with that? And we can talk more about unforgiveness. The floor is open. Let's talk about whatever.
Actually reading one, not totally on unforgiveness, but there was a chapter where he talked about the author was talking about when we don't forgive, God won't hear our prayers, and God is really concerned not only with our vertical relationships but horizontal, right? Like how we treat people matters. And so are we really showing the love of Christ with everyday people? Um, Especially with people that we don't, kind of rub us the wrong way. That's not saying that we need to let people use us or anything of that nature, but can you stand out in a crowd when people see you and you're doing something that's outside of the norm? They're like, oh, this guy, he moved different. You know what I'm saying? Like some people can even sense God on you, and not that you're just doing it for a show, but you're doing it because you genuinely love the Lord. But anyway, I was saying all that to say I kind of got off track. Um, to know about unforgiveness and then not to practice that, that can affect us in so many ways, and we bleed on people when we unforgive, when we don't forgive. And I had to check myself about that. Like, Sean, is there somebody in your life that you haven't forgave? And I had to do that hard heart check. And I was just thinking of people that might have rubbed me the wrong way or offended me, but I didn't feel any kind of conviction. Because I was like, ultimately, again, like you said, Todd, you got to have self control of your own self. Like, that's the only person that you can control. Um, but there was some times I had mommy issues, and I had to go through that process in therapy, and that was something that hindered me for years. But getting to the root of it, I was just like, okay, God, thank you for freeing me from that. Because me and my mom, we're good. But there was some times when I was struggling as a kid, and we just were not getting along. But I can feel that sense of being free now, where I don't have to worry about mommy issues. And again, like you said, Top, asking yourself why when I'm feeling a certain kind of way. I'm like, is this mommy issue popping up? Let me check myself, you know. So yeah, that unforgiveness is real, and we really don't talk about that enough. And think about how many of us can be walking in the gifts, the full gift and the full blessings of God, if we recognize, if we were holding on to unforgiveness or bitterness or resentment. Like, just to be able to recognize that is a game changer. But I think a lot of people don't want to go down those rabbit trails. I don't think they want to walk down that dark aisle of their soul. Um, but that's a walk that we all got to take, because you got to live with you. And to be a prisoner in your own mind it's terrible. It's something that none of us would like to live in on a permanent basis. And I know what it's like to live inside my head. And I'm like, I don't want to walk into any of that. So I'm always asking myself regularly, God, like, where am I standing at? Where I'm at right now? And when I'm out of character, why am I out of character?
Appreciate that, Sean. And it really, people really cling to unforgiveness because they want to play the victim. When you play the victim, you don't have to be accountable to nothing. You don't have to see the part that you played in anything. You're looking for power in the situation. There's power in unforgiveness. Unforgiveness, releasing someone of, whatever penance that you can put on them, releasing them from blame, releasing them, forgive them. Let it go. Let your hold on that go. Some people are just what I call professional victims, and somebody's always doing something. It's always them. Like, they just live there because that's where they're comfortable. And really, if they look back at it, it really goes to something that may have happened prior that they just never healed from, and they are professional victims. And emotional toddlers. That's another thing. That's my thing. Emotional toddlers. There's a lot of grown people that are emotional toddlers because they don't. An emotional toddler is somebody that just does not have control of their feelings and emotions. Like, I've told a woman before, like, in conversation, she wanted to date. And I told her, I said, I can't date a woman like you. And she's like, what you mean, a woman like me? I said, you're not in control of your feelings and emotions. Your feelings and emotions control you. Um, And she just was like, "Well, what do you mean?" I was like, "You're selfish." And like, it's not even bad that you're selfish. Selfishness in itself, I'm not talking about that just being bad. What's bad about your selfishness is that you don't have any control of it. You don't know how to manage it. Everybody is selfish. Everybody operates in selfishness at some point in time. But to be able to manage your selfishness, like, at the lowest level possible, or just have control of your selfishness. People kill people over selfishness. People do all kinds of things. People cheat out of selfishness. They will destroy their whole family out of selfishness. That is uncontrolled feelings and emotions. You don't have control of your feelings and emotions. You can be angry, but you don't have to be angry on 1,000. You can be angry at 5. That's having control of your feelings and emotions. And so a person that does not have control of their feelings and emotions are dangerous, especially men. So this is definitely needed and necessary. But what is the new? Oh, yeah, I wanted to. What was this again? Let me see. Did I miss it? Oh, so Second Corinthians 10:5. We demolish arguments in every um, pretension that sets itself against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. So this in this Second Corinthians 10:5, it tells you about what I said earlier about being able to capture thoughts, narratives, being a master of what you think and what you entertain. That's self-control. And so that's why how it all your feelings, your emotions, your actions controlled. Excuse me. Yeah, being in control. A lot of people are walking around out here and they're not in control. They're 100% out of control. They're like babies, like children, 100% out of control. My happiness, when I shit, excuse me, that word happiness, I'm chasing happy. That's somebody that's led by feelings and emotions. People destroy marriages because they're not happy. When nowhere in the Bible does it ever tells you anything about happiness and marriage. It talks about joy in marriage. It does not talk about happiness in marriage because happiness is what? Happiness is a byproduct of what? Feelings and emotions. So if I give Mr. Shell $1 million, she happy. If I turn right back around and take it from her, she's sad. How are you making lifelong decisions based on something so fickle? But people do it all the time. He makes me happy, so I'll marry him. She makes me happy, so I'll cheat. Yeah. I'm not saying feelings and emotions are bad. I'm saying unchecked, ungoverned feelings and emotions are dangerous. It will create a perception of things that is not true, and you will live your life by that. So, even with God, people have this thought process of God like they think God is just this genie that if you rub him the right way, he'll grant you every wish. That is not God. My God is the same God that told David to run down on that town, take the women and children captive, and take over there. My God is the same God that told um, Jesus to come down here and die for the rest of the world. Like he's balanced. He's balanced. My God stood behind young David slinging the sling, killing Goliath. My God stood behind that. He's not just one way. He's multifaceted in what it is. He not only blesses, but he also chastises too. And I think people forget that part. Like they forget that this is the God that chastises. If he loves you, he cares about you, he chastens, he chastises you. That chastising, it can hurt. Like mentally, physically, spiritually, it can hurt. But because he loves you, that's how he deals with you. Being control of your feelings and emotions is everything. What does anybody else say?
And there's a fact that you talk about the scripture that says every son the Lord receives, he chastises. We don't talk about that enough, right? And I think we need to. And then at the end of that scripture, he talks about how that it produces fruit from that chastisement, and it's necessary because I mean, like you say, if we living in our feelings and emotions, uh, that's a scary place to be in. You know, when people use that term, I'm gonna do me. I'm like, okay, that's a scary thing because we're all capable of blowing it. Oh, you just gonna do you? Okay, that according to your emotion way, but Yeah, we have to be okay with the Lord chastising us, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a lot of things that we do with our kids. We might have to get on them about something, and it's only for their good. And we have to be obedient to the voice of the Lord, regardless of what's going on out in culture and society. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because we don't talk about that enough.
Yeah. Like even to demolish arguments. This is why I say arguments are bad. Some people say they think that arguments are good. I know I've many times I've broken down what an argument is. An argument is I don't care what Sean's saying. I'm gonna tell Sean. Let me tell you what it is, Sean. I don't care nothing about what you're saying. I want to get my point across, and I want to indoctrinate you and influence you to think the way that I think. And that's Sean operating the same way towards me. So neither one of us is heard, and there's a domination aspect to arguments. I need to dominate you. Again, what did I say about witchcraft? Domination, manipulation, and control. In an argument, I need to dominate you, manipulate you, so that I can control the way that you think. This is why I say I do not do arguments. I don't argue with my woman. I would never argue back and forth with my woman because I understand what that is. So if people understood that, there's no need. Like even when we're in these rooms and people talk about some, well, I don't want this to be an echo chamber. What are you saying? You're saying that we can have different opinions and people can say all that, but what people really want is they want the argument. Why? Because the argument is exciting. But there's damage when you have arguments. And I don't want to manipulate you and I don't want to control you. So you can't have these arguments with someone that you love. Because I said before, there's no love in control at all. But yeah, and then they talk about in the scripture that 2 Corinthians 10:5, demolish all arguments. Um, like this refers to the actively dismantling of false doctrines, beliefs, reasonings that go against God's truth. That also means your feelings and emotions. Is this true? Asking yourself that question before you adopt a narrative or take hold on to a feeling and embody it. Is this true? Um, every pretension that sets itself against the knowledge of God, the emphasis is that you need to combat any pride or arrogance that elevates itself above God's authority. To take captive of every thought just simply means that to actively consider and analyze our thoughts, recognizes when they are aligned with God's truth and when they are not, and make it obedient to Christ. Just meaning that highlights the importance of submitting our thoughts and our will as it pertains to Christ and his authority. So my will is not greater than God's. And if I'm in alignment with God, then nothing. Well, as far as the scripture aspect of this, I'm pretty much done with that. um, I've already talked about you're responsible for your feelings and emotions. Nobody else is. Even if we're friends, I'm not responsible for your feelings and emotions. You are. You are definitely responsible. Um, we have no control over anyone else, or anything else other than yourself. Thoughts create feelings. Other people's behaviors and actions are not our business. So I can't get mad at Tashelle for doing what Tashelle gonna do. I gotta I gotta respect it. That's what she wants to do, even if it hurts my feelings. I gotta respect it because I'm not in control of Miss Tashelle. If me and Miss Tashelle are friends, I'm not in control of her. If me and Beyondra's friends, I'm not in control of Beyondra. I gotta respect what she chooses for herself. Yeah, I have to respect that. So, I mean, if y'all want to take this conversation any other way, y'all can. I'm pretty much done for what I wanted to give here with that on this good grand Sunday.
I think it was a good topic, man. I think the unforgiveness piece, I think that's requires another conversation too, um, and the self control. Like I said, I think we don't talk about it enough, and we can find a lot about self control with people while in these rooms, because some people can easily get caught in their feelings and arguing and all that other stuff. So maybe this need to be ran back again throughout the week or something.
Yeah, we can try that. Yeah, telling people like a rule of thumb for me is you really know what's up with a person when you tell them no. You can really see how they control their feelings and emotions when you tell them no. um, tell a whole lot. So yeah, I mean, I have no problem with it. We could definitely do running back. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday, probably when more people are online and can have the conversation just about unforgiveness and all that. Unforgiveness is a poison that you serve yourself and you die slow from it. And the other person, most of the time, they don't even care. Like they're not even aware of what's going on. But you hold this, it's a sickness, and unforgiveness creates bodily sicknesses and deficiencies along with stress over time. So unforgiveness really only hurts you.
I'll say this too. We definitely, I'm definitely going to do it, but I would say that more people need to do more classes, especially just teaching on how to deal with emotions, because we can't assume that everybody just knows how to do that. Obviously, most people do not. We can see it in just our everyday interactions with people on this app, just in even in general, just everyday life. So some people don't even realize how their emotions are carrying them, if that makes sense. Like how they're allowing their emotions to rule versus them ruling over their emotions. So, and that is something that needs to be taught on. And I feel like a lot of these things definitely have to be taught on a little bit more because we can't just assume people know because a lot of them do not. I'll land my mic.
Because on one hand, I feel like on one hand, I feel like there's no excuse, and but there can be some grace given to them. Like I'm gonna throw you a little bit of grace, but like there's no excuse for me to continue to allow you to move certain kind of ways, especially with me, just because you don't know. And I feel like it's something that you should want to know. That should be a desire for you. And if you do personal development, that's one of the things that is crucial to you in your own development. So what do you say about that? How do you feel like we should look and move in that?
I agree, but there's a lot of people that are not even they're not even looking at personal development. They, I'll say this, I've noticed a lot of people just go with the flow. They go with what they have seen, and they don't even take the time out to do work on themselves. Um, some that I've dealt with, and it's like a clue that okay, say I'll just give you a scenario like say
two women are just, in a restaurant or whatever, and a man and another woman at a different table are arguing, and that completely sets off one of the other two women that are sitting there together. And she don't even know that that's a trigger for her, but she just knows how she feels when that particular situation happens. Um, so it has to be brought to her attention, like, does it happen to you all the time? When you hear noise or argument, do you, does your heart race? Do you do these things? And so it's like we expect people to have gone to therapy or have the money to go get therapy or any of these things, or even actually, I'll say this: there's some people that even know the things that they are battling with. Now, those are the people that fall in be in the category of what you're talking about. Like if you know, I'll say this: if you are a person that knows, oh, I suffer from, and I'm just thinking of this one lady. She knows that she suffers from abandonment. She has abandonment issues. She knows she suffers from rejection, but yet you're not doing the work on self to stop going from 0 to 100. If that makes sense. And so, because you should be doing the work, especially if you started off doing the work, just to know that you're battling that. But there's some people that do not have a clue they're battling. They just know they're battling. Um, they're battling with rage and anger and up and down fits and that kind of stuff. And little things tick them off, but they don't know why. They can't tell you why. Especially the younger generation. I say because my daughter, my middle daughter, my oldest daughter, between the ages of 25 and 30, 35. They should, with all the information that's out here, they should be able to recognize what they've gone through or are battling with and do some work. But a lot of them have not. Some people don't have the money to do it, and if they hear about things but they don't understand it, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna keep going about my business. Or some people just don't want to do the work. And half of that has to do with accountability. You have to be able to hold yourself accountable and say, okay, I got an issue. I have a problem. I need to do something about it. But if they don't even see that they have a problem, how do we expect them to know to go and get help for the problem? If that makes sense.
I understand that definitely. So in the thought of just dealing with people in general, I 100% agree with you. Like, so everybody, most people do not have this understanding and knowledge. Most people do not operate in personal development. Most people just, like you said, go with the flow, and I can agree with that. So there's a different level of grace with them because I don't necessarily have to have interactions with with the masses of people. What I was talking about really was personal situations, like personal people that you come across and deal with. And, I feel like I'm torn because in one part of me, I feel like, yeah, there's no excuse because you should know. You should want to know. But the other part of it is, like say, like a person suffering from abandonment issues, that person that's suffering from abandonment issues, they're going to respond to you in a certain kind of way when you make them feel abandoned. And for me, it's like, while I understand that you suffer from abandonment issues, I don't I don't feel like that I should be responsible for your actions towards me because of what you suffer from and what you choose to continue to suffer in. So I could see if I caused the abandonment issue, then I have to, in my mind, if I caused it, I gotta fix what I broke in you. I understand that. But if I didn't cause it, then that means you're just living in your abandonment issues. And that's, to me, that's not my business. That's your business to handle and deal with. Because I know some people will say, well, I got these trust issues. Well, I understand that, but if you don't fix them, you are willingly walking around with trust issues and abusing other people due to what you got going on inside of you that you can fix. So it's kind of hard for me to give you grace in that, because you're like walking in destruction just because you're too lazy, or you don't have the courage to face whatever you got going on. But that's just how I look at things. I'm open to hearing about how anybody else does it. Yeah, but like I said, I'm pretty much done. Like that was what I had. I figured this room, especially on a Sunday, I kind of figured this room would have been bigger, so would have had a lot of more other people in here to give their perspectives and all that other good stuff. But listen, I'm thankful for those that showed up. I just hate that fan base doesn't have, like, on Clubhouse, they have, like, the rooms is recorded. So if I ran the room and then once it's done, other people could come behind me and listen to the rooms. But yeah, it's not like that on here. So I mean, yeah, I guess we'll probably have to do it again. Go ahead, Mr. Show.
Well, I was just gonna say a lot of people are off tomorrow. Some people are at church, kind of around the time we're doing this. But I definitely think it's a topic that needs to be spoken on again. And just be prepared for people not to want to come in and do that topic. I'm just being real. I've seen it so much. It's like I've talked to people and I'm just like, what do you guys think about me? Or just not even me, but just what do you think about trauma class? Just doing some trauma class. And so many people are like receptive to it. Yes, yes, yes. But when it's time to do it, baby, look, that's work. And actually doing the work, it's not going to be an easy thing, but I'm still going to do it because God has told me to do it. So we're going to see. And hopefully we can get people holding the ceiling right there. We have so many leaders out here that are leaders that are supposed to be doing God's will right now, but they're stuck in their trauma. So they can't leave because they can't get out of that trauma. They can't get the healing. Yeah, it's major. Come on here, Sean. Let's get it done.
All right. So, for those of you that are still listening, that was a live stream I did on Fanbase, of course. Whenever there's dope conversations, I like to share it with the audience. And top of the line, or shall I say, top of the line, actually does some really dope rooms on Fanbase. So whenever he comes on, I always want to make sure that I share the room. So for those of you listening, wherever you are, tune in again for a next episode of Memoirs of a Shy Girl, aka Memoirs Podcasting, aka Joyce's POS. And I'm signing out. See you again. Love you. Be blessed.